Yeah, live. Yeah, it's live. I'm live. Good morning. How you doing? February 23rd, last Saturday in February. This is oh gosh, it's just been crazy. It's been a crazy week weather-wise. We had a snowstorm blow in here Wednesday, and I missed practice. Well, we all missed practice because they canceled practice because the roads were just like at like noon. They were just horrible, and no one wanted to risk it. And then the next day it was like 45 degrees and everything was melting. Last night was not too bad. Today it's all gray and crappy looking, and tomorrow it's supposed to be like 60. Go figure, and rainy. So oh, Jesus. This has been just a crazy week. So, where am I at? Job and finances. Well, let's put it this way. I got about $42 to my name right now that is meant to last me until the end of February. I do have food. I'm good until like next Friday. And I think I could actually make it till next Friday, but I'm gonna be like scraping rock bottom in terms of food by Friday morning. And the other thing is my debit card runs out at the end of this month, and I haven't received my new one yet. So I think I have to call them and say, like, where the hell is my debit card? Did you mail it out or what? Because I haven't gotten it. And usually you have it by now. Usually you get it with about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't seen it. So I may have to tell them, hey, send me another one and send it express mail and get it here ASAP. I have a fallback, but I don't think I'll be able to use it until like next Saturday. So next Friday I could be on a water fast trying to like make it through the day. And I think I have to go back and check. I thought I have a First Friday event, which I may or may not go to now. Because last night I was at a league event. Me and three of my teammates were at a place in Lancaster called Zotropolis, which is like an old movie theater. But they also do have live musician acts and stuff. And we were there working 2 shifts trying to get the Derby word out because 2 weeks from today is our first bout. And if you happen to be watching and you live in the Lancaster Harrisburg area, next 2 Saturdays from today, March 9th, Dutchland Derby Rollers first bout at home. It's going to be fun. A doubleheader, as always. So I was working like the 8:30 to 11 shift last night. And I was out with 2 of my teammates, one of whom is actually one of my coaches. And one of my 4 coaches I have who we rotate through between for the most part. And I really like that because every coach has a different style. Every coach brings something different to the table. So generally speaking, we do all sorts of different drills. Also, one of my teammates, she works for I guess it's like a laboratory in Lancaster, and they're having a job fair in March. But she told me last night, she says, we have like a lot of open positions right now for jobs. And so she sent me the link last night. I told her I'd go and take a look at it. So I'm going to apply for a bunch of jobs there and actually go to their job fair. And she said, just mention my name. I'll put in a good word for you. So keeping my fingers crossed. I said, if it's an administrative position, I don't care. And I said, if it looks like I'm going to get a job down in Lancaster, I may actually move down there. Just let them kick me out of my apartment and go work, get a place down in Lancaster. If I can. But yeah, we'll see. But Yeah, I've got about, like I said, I've got about $42 to my name right now. So you know that Kofi, if you feel like kicking a couple of bucks in to help a girl out, it'd be appreciated. I will say I had, yeah, next month scares me. It really does. And I'm sitting there last night thinking about all the things that I need to do, and I'm like, and I have no money to do this stuff. It's sort of like, it's really like I said in one video a few weeks ago, it's really a good thing that this wasn't happening last year, because I would have went off my balcony by now. I really would have. It would have been a mess in more ways than one. You see, but I can laugh about that now. And I guess, it does scare me. And I had a bit of a crying jag yesterday where I was like, oh God, I don't know what I'm going to do. But you just, I don't know, I guess I got to kind of take it in stride. What else am I going to do? Certainly not win the lottery. I tried that, and it didn't work. So we'll see. But it was a good time hanging with my teammates last night. It was a good time hanging out at Zotropolis. Great place. Got a free t-shirt out of it. Yeah. Talked to a few people. It wasn't the kind of crowd that's going to come to a derby bout, but we talked to a few people. Not a lot, but a few. But from what I understand, like now I don't have to do like an event until like August. So, I'm pretty much in the clear. I did my duty, which is what you're supposed to do. I support my team. I support my league. I always have. I've, even when I was with that other league, I supported them quite a lot. I went to a lot of events when other people didn't. So, and this one, I didn't mind it. Even a lot of people were like, man, you got a long drive to come down here. It's like, I don't, it doesn't bother me. 40 minutes is not that much. I've driven farther than that to get to work, so it doesn't bother me that much. In fact, it is kind of nice to be able to sort of decompress and stuff. The only problem is when you get out of the car, you're all stiff. And everybody's telling you need to stretch more before you leave practice. Probably. But if you haven't been able to figure out from the title of this blog post, a lot of this is going to involve skating. Roller skating, as a matter of fact. Roller derby skating. Yeah, why is that? This has been a big, crazy ass week for me. Last Sunday, down in Hagerstown, Maryland, Nomi Snarks came out to play. It was my first official bout. It was actually what you would call a scrimmage, a mixer, but it was my first official bout, and I had teammates down there cheering me on. In fact, they made me a sign. I'm going to show it to you. See, this is the sign they made me. I have great teammates. They did. They did. They were like, did you see our sign? I was like, no. You get tunnel vision when you're out on the track because I'm paying so much attention to everything that's happening on the track. I don't have time to eyeball. And I didn't even know where they were sitting. When we did, I was in the first segment and I had absolutely no idea where they were sitting. And after it was done, I'm like looking around for them going, I'm trying to find my teammates. I don't know where they're at. Geez. And come to find out, they were sitting in the same area that I had been sitting in the year before when I went down to watch one of my teammates then with hard play. So it was fun. It was a real experience. I got to play with all sorts of people from all sorts of different leagues. One of my teammates was actually from Keystone, which is a league not far from here down in New Cumberland. They're good people. I like them. I like them a lot. I know their coach. She's good. and I've seen them play. They're damn good. They are. They're going to come out. I think they're going to do well this year. This is going to be their first full year of playing, and I think they're going to do well. I had one teammate drive up from Fayetteville, North Carolina. She was originally from the Hagerstown area, and she drove up 6 hours to get to. Yes, I had another one come in from Morgantown, West Virginia, a team that Dutchland has played in the past. In fact, I think we played them last year. Yeah. Yeah. Our travel team went out there and played them. So it was a lot of good people. We had 11 people on our side. It later got reduced to 10 because one person in our second outing, she fell, hit her head, and they took her off the track. They said, they didn't want to risk the fact that she had a concussion. So we were down to 10 people, which meant you were going out every other jam. I was going out every other jam anyway. But we kind of had, like, when you went out, you were with the same people every time. So, and even the jammers, it was bad because there are people who were going out and playing jammer. They only got a rest if they got the block. But we played. There were so many players. We had like 49 players total between 4 teams: team black, yellow, blue, and white. And I was on team black. We called ourselves the Black Betties. Yellow was the Yellow Submarine. I saw that. I don't know what white and blue were. I'll have to ask. One of my teammates was actually on team blue, and I don't know if they had a cute name for their team. But one of my teammates, Doom, Tempa of Doom, was on team yellow. I got to play her. And one of my teammates was Venom, Venome Kavateka, which, if you know your children's literature, you know where that name came from. Kavateka. She was on team blue. And she kicked our ass. God, she's tough. They were all tough. But I went out in the first segment, I went out in the third segment, and I played in the last segment. And I actually went out in the very first jam. I had resolved that I would go out in the very first jam. That was going to be it. I was first time out. But I actually had to check. First, we get down there, and I was skating around, and the floor was slick. And so I had to go and change my wheels. I brought my Poisons, my 84s, which were giving me great grip. And it was really a good thing. Now, other people had said that the floor warmed up after a while and they didn't have any problems. But, man, I would have been sliding around out there on my wheels like mad. So, yeah. It's always difficult when you do one of these things because you meet everyone like an hour before you're out on the floor. And everybody's got a different level of play. Everyone's got a different style. Some of us had only played in 1 or 0 matches, A couple of us were like that. I've been in scrimmages. I've been in a few scrimmages, but I've not played an official bout. There was one person on one team I knew. They said she had actually been to a boot camp, but she hadn't done anything. So she was kind of like nervous. She had the nervous shits, as one person said. We had one member of our team who had actually done 3 bouts, which was the minimum, the maximum you could do. And so I told her, I said, "You're our vet. We're going to rely on you. You're the vet." But some of these women were tough as hell, man. Yeah, I went out. I did my best. And I blocked. I played pivot a few times. Didn't have to do any star passes, but I played pivot. Because I know what to do. Contrary to what someone once asked me during a scrimmage, yes, I know I know what a pivot does. And it was really kind of surreal. It really is. You're just out there and you're in your own little world. And I've heard all sorts of stuff about how difficult it is to hear people and how the noise level is so high that you can't, you know, figure out what's going on and all this other stuff. I didn't have that trouble. I mean, I was so focused on playing that I just tuned everything out. And if it wasn't on the track, I wasn't noticing it. Seriously. I heard the refs clearly. I got 2 penalties in the first segment, and those were the only penalties I had all night. And man, the minute the refs called my number, I knew. In fact, the second time I got a penalty, the ref called the wrong number first. And you don't have to do anything if they call the wrong number. You don't. You know, you don't have to do anything because if they call the wrong number, you're listening for your number. And I didn't hear my number, but I kind of went, well, 2 of those 3 numbers are correct. Let's see what happens. And then they whistled and they called the same penalty, the same jersey color, but they called a different number again, but they got 2 of the 3 right. So I kind of turned to the ref and showed him my arm because you always have your numbers on your arm. You have to. And I had a magic marker on. And I showed him my arm, and I saw him, and he kind of nodded like this, and he goes, "Okay, black 882 directional." Then I went off the track because you don't have to leave the track if they're not calling the right numbers. For all I knew, there was another black 582 or 182 out there, and those were the numbers. It was 582, then it was 182, and I knew I wasn't either of those. But that's why I kind of rotated my arm to show the ref, there's my numbers in case you're calling me, and then the third time he whistled and he goes black 882 directional. So, helping out the refs a little bit, not giving them any crap, just like there's my numbers. But I had a forearm and I had a directional. And one person who was watching said, she could tell the minute I did my forearm, I knew I did it. And I took off for the penalty box, both times went, served my penalty, sat down, don't say a word, just sit, watch the pack to figure out where you're going to come in at. And then when they really issue, you go back in. Those were the only penalties I had all night. So I actually felt pretty good about that. Biggest thing that I did in the first segment that I played, we played Team White. And Team White had a player named Tiny Tina. Okay. Whenever anyone has a nickname of Tiny, it usually goes one of 2 ways. Either they are extremely small, or they are extremely tall. Tiny Tina was not small. It's not like when I played with Pixie Panzer. They called her Pixie Panzer because she was a little tank. She was like 5'1" and a little tank. She was powerful. No, Tiny Tina she was a big girl. She was about 6'3" at least. She was a head taller than me, and I'm 5'8". So, you add 8 inches, you add like 6 inches onto that 8 inches, whatever. She was about 6'3", 6'4". She was big. And a few of my teammates had said they tried hitting her down or out, and she was just tough. Somebody did hit her down, but they didn't get her out of bounds. And I think they did it by just like going into her they went into her trying to force her out, and she went down instead. I think they tripped her. But I had one segment, we had one part where she was jamming and she was starting to escape the pack. And I went after her. And that was something I was trying to do a lot of, was actually chasing down the jammer. Because it's something you should do. I tried chasing down the jammer. And I got her. And I hit her. I actually also hit her out and down. Yeah. The big problem was I went down at the same time, which kind of nullifies what you're trying to do. Because if you go down, all she's got to do is come right back in. The moment you as a player go down, you're out of play. So if you hit someone out of bounds and you go down at the same moment, you've taken yourself out of the play, and the jammer doesn't have to come in behind you. The jammer just takes off, and that's pretty much what she did. We both got up, and she got up about the same time, and she took off. So my coach, when I get back to the bed, she's like, "Hey, great hit." And the first thing out of my mouth was, "Yeah, but I went down." That was the thing I felt the most upset about, was not that I got a hit on her and I got her out and down, which I felt proud about, but it was like I couldn't follow through. The follow through would have been, don't go down and run her back. And I couldn't do that. I felt bad about that. I talked to her afterwards, and she said she felt that hit. She says, that was a pretty big hit. She said, I felt that. And I said, I have absolutely zero recollection of how hard I hit you. I really don't. It was, like I said, it was such a blur when you're out there. And the thing was, when I hit her, I thought I was actually coming in and getting into her side and knocking her out. But someone snapped a photo, and I'll show it to you. And the photo actually looks as if I came in from in front of her and did a pop-up into her to knock her out. And which is probably what put me down when I did that. But it looks more like I came in from the front and did a pop-up on her, which works. But you're not supposed to go down. That was the bad part. I went down. So, yeah. Second segment, I got to play jammer. And I was in jammer hell. I really was. It was bad. I could not get through the pack for my initial pass. I think I was one of either two, maybe three jammers who couldn't complete their initial pass. And it went for the full 2 minutes because the lead jammer just like, this chick ain't going anywhere. I'm just gonna run up the score on her. And she did. And it was hell. It was jammer hell, and it was population me. Now, I pushed that tripod. I pushed that tee 3/4 of the way around the track. More than that, actually. I mean, we were coming up on the jammer line when they blew the jam dead. I was just absolutely spent. That was hell. And because we only had 10 players, I got to sit out the next jam, and then I had to go back in to block because we only had 10 players, and you have to field 5 unless there's somebody in the penalty box, and then you field how many you got. But oh my God, I was spent. It was just hell. I could not figure out how to get around them. It wasn't there. Whatever I was trying to do, I just couldn't do it. They were working together. The blue team was working together really well. And everything I was trying, I couldn't push through. I couldn't get around on the inside or the outside. They kept pushing me out. They kept, it was hell. It was a learning experience, but it was hell. It was definitely jammer hell. I don't know what that means. Okay, but we didn't win the second segment. There was an interesting thing that happened while I was jamming, however. I got someone commenting to me. I have absolutely no idea what they're saying. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what knee or gear means. Anyway, my teammates were telling me when I was jamming, they said, "Did you hear what the announcer was saying?" I'm like, "No, I heard nothing." And they said that the announcer at one point goes, Nomi's out there getting a taste of her own medicine because she's been doing a really great job blocking tonight. And I was like, oh, great. I'm glad they recognized that. It was pretty interesting. Yeah. And we did the third segment, and everybody was tired at that point. My groin was on fire. I even told a couple of my teammates, I said, I'm having trouble standing up after sitting. I said, so if I need your help getting to my feet, please give it to me. I said, right now, my groin muscles are just so warped right now that I'm having trouble standing up. And I still went out there and played. We lost that segment too. Yes. Team Black, the Black Betties, did not win a single segment. This is interesting as hell. Some asshole here is trying to get me to say something that is going to come off sounding like a racial epithet. And you should just go fuck yourself, okay? There. I just put the user in timeout. He was trying to get me to say something that if I had said it, it would have came off sounding like a racial epithet. And yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, they are. People are dicks. He was trying to get me to say something that would have been bad. And I'm actually going to remove his little butt. Bye-bye. And actually, I'm going to report him. There you go. And he has been reported. So there you go. Adios, muchachos. He has been reported. Yeah. So where was I at? Oh, yeah. The third segment we lost. I was pretty sore, but I kept doing my best. I had heard by the time we got to the third segment, I had heard from other people, a couple of players from other teams, that the team we were playing was actually going to try to avoid me as much as possible because it was so hard to get around. Yeah. That the word had come down that as a blocker, I was doing a pretty good job. And the last team, Team Yellow, was trying to do their best to avoid me because I was too difficult to get around, which I took that as kind of a heavy compliment. You're like, we don't want to go over by Nomi. She's too hard to get around. And it actually, a lot of it was, yeah, for the most part, they were trying to avoid me. I mean, I didn't stop everyone, but I've gotten pretty good at taking that inside line and holding that inside line when necessary. And I played the outside line a couple of times too. And mostly I played the lines. And I braced or anchored, however you want to put it. But like I said, we lost. We lost the second segment by 25 points. We lost our third segment by 1 point. We actually went out. I would have been in the last jam, and we had 20 seconds to go on the clock, and the jam timers, the jam timer has the option to actually stop the bout at that point, because if they take into consideration there's going to be timeouts and everything else, there isn't enough time to get another jam in. And so the jam timer, who I know, actually, she came up and congratulated me for being in the Battle of the Freshies before we started. She plays for, she's with Charm City down in Baltimore. Scarleg, how you doing? But yeah, she was right. There was less than 20 seconds, and the rules say if there's less than 30 seconds on the clock, there's no guarantee you're going to have another jam. So she called it at that point. So I would have been out in the last jam, but they called the jam. They called the bout at that point. They're like, everybody's got their timeouts. Everybody's got their official reviews. This could go on for a while if everybody starts calling timeouts. So we're calling the bout right now. The second segment, when I was jamming, the blue jammer probably ran up 20 points on us. And we lost by 25. So I think I can kind of point at myself and go, I was probably pretty much responsible for that lopsided score. It happens. It does. I can say, well, my team should have done this, and some of my teammates should have done this. But the reality was, as jammer, I should have gotten through and scored some points, and I didn't. And in the meantime, the other jammer went the full 2 minutes and ran up like 20 points on us. And that's that. It's like I've said before, it's all part of being a team. And at that point, as a team, we didn't do that well. So, maybe if I hadn't been out there jamming and having 20 points thrown up on us, we might not have lost, or we might not have lost by 25 points. But it's irrelevant. It's all part of a team effort. You're as strong as the weakest link in your team. And there were things we could have done, but we didn't. But all the teams were like that. I mean, it wasn't like we had a bunch of all-stars on that track. It was great. It was a fun experience. I've had Battle of the Freshies described to me as it could be anywhere from a really totally great experience to a shit show. And it definitely was both. There were moments when it was like we were out there and it was just like a totally awesome, great experience. And there were other times when you were going, this is a shit show. We need to do better. And I contributed to both ends, There you go. I'm not completely blameless either, but I got to meet a lot of good people. I got to friend some of them. I'm following them on Facebook. I said, even though we'll probably never see each other again, I want to know how you're doing in your derby experiences. And they wanted to know how I was doing. So, yeah, that's the deal. It's derby. And as I was telling one of my teammates last night, Steele, I said, derby seems to be one of those sports where you can meet some people for the very first time, and all of a sudden you all start meshing. It's like, you can give criticism to somebody and they'll take it. They can give you criticism and you can take it. You can learn from each other. And it was just like, that's just the way it is. Everybody's in there for the same thing, to be good and to play well. And we did. It was a great experience. I'm glad I got to do it. It took me a year to get there, but I did it. Yeah. And then I got home 2 hours later, having... Jesus. I opened my gear bag and nearly died. It stunk so bad. I mean, when I come home from practice from Dutchland, my gear's been in my bag for about my friend Lynette down here, she's giving me the claps. And not this clap. She's really applauding. She's applauding well. Yeah, when you've had your gear in your bag for 40 minutes, it's usually not too bad. It had been in my gear bag for over 2 hours. Oh, it was ripe. I did. I pulled it back. I was like, holy Christ, does that stink? It had derby stench. Oh, man. It really had derby stench. Jesus. It was bad. It really was. Oh, my God. I did. I pulled everything out. I, sprayed it down to get the steak out. I sprayed down the inside of my gear bag. I was like, whoa. That's the first time I've really had derby stench come at me that hard. And it was bad. There's little that smells as bad as derby stench. We joke about it all the time, but it's true. Oh, man, was that horrible. So, and then guess what happened? The very next night, I had to go and do another scrimmage. Because Monday night, the night following Battle of the Freshers, was my tryout. I was being assessed to get on a travel team, the Blitz. Let me just say right off the bat, I woke up, I was sore as hell, particularly in my groin. I've had a groin soreness for like over a month now because of using those muscles. It's getting better. I recover from it faster now. But still, it still is starting to hurt. I think in another month or two, I'll get to the point where those muscles would get sufficiently strong enough that I'm not going to have that problem. But I woke up, my groin hurt, and I felt like I'd been out drinking all night. I mean, I really did. I felt like I was hungover. I just was not feeling good. We think, after talking to my other two teammates, we had stopped at a gas station / convenience store. We stopped at a Sheetz, which is pretty popular here in this part of Pennsylvania, and got something to eat. And I don't think the food agreed with me. And my one teammate, who she had something to eat there also. She said it wasn't agreeing with her. So when I showed up for practice Monday night, one, I was a little tired. Two, I was a little sore. And three, I was still feeling the effects of that sandwich. And I said, I'm not at 100% tonight. I really am not. I was maybe 85 to 90%. But that's, shit happens. So I'm being assessed. Water. And right off the bat, I got to do a 27.5. Oh my God. Because we have to do skill assessment too. And I had to do a 27.5 right off the bat. I haven't done a 27.5 in about 2 months. And I get out there and I'm trying to push as hard as I can. And of course, when you're pushing, you're working your groin. Your groin muscles. Also, I got stuck behind another player, and I simply did not have the strength to get around her. We were basically evenly matched. I might have had like 5% more on her, but I couldn't get around her. She's hugged the inside line, the whole way, and I could not get around her. Even pushing as hard as I could on the straights, I just couldn't do it. And that went on for about 3 minutes. Now, someone asked me, why didn't you tell her to move out of the way? You don't do that to one of your teammates. As a faster skater, and I was marginally faster, it's your job to get around a player that could be holding you up. If you can't get around that player, that's not her problem. So, it was on me to get around her, and I couldn't do it. And I had to wait until she got a little tired to get around her. And that did help hold me up a little bit. How much? I don't really know. But anyway, I did 26 laps right on the nose. And my coach was like, hey, don't worry about it. That's pretty good, considering you haven't done one in a while. And I said, yeah, it's been about 2 months. If I hadn't have been held up, I might have actually done 27. It would have been close. When I was sitting there figuring it out, it was like, even if I got held up like a half a second a lap, and I was like that for about 18 laps. That's 9 seconds, which is 2 seconds off of the lap's time you need to get a 27.5. So I said I might have actually gotten a 27.5. But I couldn't, it's just like I didn't have the strength. It was on me and I couldn't pull it off. I couldn't pull off a plow to save my life. The first time I did a plow, I was in so much pain. I think he actually let out a yelp the first time I did it because I just could not bring my legs into the position to do it. I don't do plows well, but still, it was just like, oh God, I can't do this. And fortunately, my coach, she approached me Thursday night and said, I want you to do your plows over, which led me to believe that I probably scored a 1. Which shouldn't have happened if I had made it through all 3 tiers and scrimmage assessment. I shouldn't be getting a 1 on my plows. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Because she was like, you don't want that as your, she didn't tell me what the score was, but I didn't have to guess. She was like, we need a baseline for you. And she goes, I can tell you were hurting. And I was like, yeah, I was hurting. I explained about the whole groin muscle thing. And she's like, yeah, I can understand that. So they let me do that part over, which was good. So we did some skill assessment, and then we went and we scrimmaged. And I got put with the blitz players to scrimmage with them. So I was in a pod, a group, and I was out with those people all the time. And the first part, it was like everything was kind of mixed up. I was mostly with Blitz players, but we had a few all-star players with us as well. And we weren't serving full penalties. If you went to the penalty box, the moment the jam was over, if you were still in the penalty box and the jam ended, that's it. Your penalty ended, and you went back to your team. That's how we were doing it. So no one was going out at a disadvantage. We got to the second 30 minutes and they flat out, we were told, okay, it's now going to be All-Stars versus the Blitz. So everyone on my side was pretty much a Blitz player. I'm not sure if we had one All-Star player or not. But everybody on our side was a Blitz player. Everybody on the other side was an All-Star player. And to kind of even it up to begin with, they only put out 3 blockers and a jammer. But after a while, it became pretty obvious that the All-Star players were really moving quickly in order to make up for the fact that they were playing a person down. So they said, okay, to even this back up, we're going to field a full team. So, for like the last 20 minutes or so that we played, it was 4-on-4 with 2 jammers. So not only am I out there blocking, but I had to play pivot and I had to play jammer. I mean, I was told, you're being assessed for all of these positions, and we want you to play different parts on the track as well, because you're being assessed. How well do you play the inside? How well do you play the outside? How do you play the middle? How do you play the anchor? And how do you play jammer? I was jammer 3 times, and 2 of those times was against the All-Stars. Straight up. But I didn't do too bad. I don't think I did too bad. I actually got in there, and I think I did a pretty decent job of blocking. I was a pretty decent anchor. I had one interesting part. One of my teammates, her name is Liv. Well, it was her first scrimmage. She got invited. Yeah, she was told to come to it, and it was a practice scrimmage for her. It was sort of like what I went through. I had a practice scrimmage, and I had the real deal. So I think they were wanting her to get a practice scrimmage in before she would get a scrimmage assessment. And it was her first scrimmage. And there was one point where she was on my team, and she was number 88. I'm 882, 882, but we say 882, and she was 88. So naturally, I'm listening for my number, and a penalty was called, and I hear black 88. And I'm listening for the 2, and I don't hear the 2. So I know it's not me. I know it's Liv. And I was anchoring, and I'm kind of looking out of the corner of my eye, and I could see she's got this look on her face like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. Now, our refs will, if they know you're brand new and they know this is like your first scrimmage and you're not sure about what's going to happen, they're kind of lenient. But still, if you get 3 calls in a row and you don't leave the track, you will get an insubordination penalty. That's just the way it goes, That's how it often goes anyway. So before they whistled her again, I just look over and I go, Liv, go to the penalty box. Like that. And she took off. That was it. It was just like, go to the penalty box. They called you. So that was a pretty good moment for me. Having that awareness of going, I know you got a penalty, go to the penalty box. And she did great. She had a great scrimmage. Yay, teammate. She did good. But my best moment And I'm going to use that term loosely. No, actually, it was a good moment because I've been going over this a lot. The last time I went out as jammer, which was like near the end of the second scrimmage, jamming against the All-Stars. Both times when I went out to jam against the All-Stars, I had to go out against Megapixel, who intimidates the hell out of me. All the jammers on the All-Stars intimidate the hell out of me. But she's your stereotypical small, fast, jukey little jammer, but she can also come at you with a lot of power. And she does. She intimidates the hell out of me. I used to watch her play when I was with Hard, and I was always impressed. I was always impressed by all the jammers, but it was just like, yeah, I'm impressed by her a lot. Again, I'm impressed by all our jammers. I'm impressed by all our people. And the second time I go out, you have a jammer line and you have a pivot line, and the blockers all set up in this area in between. Most of the time, everybody sets up back here on the jammer line, and we're set up behind the jammer line because that's where the jammer is set up. This time, both teams set up on the pivot line, which is 30 feet away from the jammer line. My team is actually the first wall, and the All-Stars are behind them. That means in order for me to do my initial pass, I've got to skate about 40 feet because I was set up probably about 5 to 10 feet behind the pivot line, the jammer line. So I've got to skate about 35 or 40 feet to get down there to do my initial pass against someone who I know can do 34 laps in 5 minutes. And it's like the first thing that hits me, and you've only got a few seconds to think about this. It's like, I got to get down there as fast as I can. I don't have a choice. I need to get down there as fast as I can because if I don't, she can actually start moving around and get my team to close the hole that they're opening for me because they see I'm set up on the outside. So I'm guessing they're going to open a hole for me in lane 4 to let me go through. But if Pixel gets down there and starts juking around and gets them moving, it can close the hole, which means then I got to struggle to get through my team who is struggling to hold a jammer. It's not good. It holds me up. So I'm like, I got to get down there as quickly as I can. You don't have a choice. So the whistle goes and I take off, and the hole stays open long enough for me to get through, which means like 5 feet on the other hole are a bunch of all-star blockers. Dash has told us before, when you're jamming, you're not thinking about what you're doing. It all becomes a matter of muscle memory in that you just start doing things. And Schmid Vicious, who is a tough player on the All-Stars, they're all tough players, let's just be honest. She's stretched out basically sideways across lanes 3 and 4, which is something that she does. It makes her very stable. She's very hard to hit. And there's no way to get around her. So here's my choice. It's like I got her hips in lane 4, and I got her upper torso in lane 3, and she's holding on to the brace. You can try to go for the arms and try to get them to drop their arms so that they don't get a penalty. You get a multiplayer penalty. But at the speed I'm going, I'm probably not going to do it right. I probably would have run into Punk, who was the anchor, because all she would have had to have done was stepped in front of me, and I would have ran into her. Or I would have hit Schmidt in the head, which you don't want to do because that's an automatic penalty. And since you're doing it, skating like a maniac, the refs could, at that point, say, what you did was egregious. It was completely unsafe. An assessment to get on a team. That's what you don't want to do. That right there would have just like said, you got no business being on the track. I mean, that's the way I would have looked at it. That's the way I was looking at it in my head, is like, I can't hit her in the head, because if I do, I'm going to hurt her. And they're probably just going to say, you're done. Sit down. I don't know, but I would have. And if I hit her in the torso, it's kind of the same thing. I got to watch out in the sense that if I hit her too hard, I can hurt her, and it could be called as a penalty. It could be called as a high block if I'm not careful. So like at the last second, I just turned my body and got my hip into her. And I felt the impact. And it was pretty good. But I don't remember I didn't see the hit. I'm already focusing on where I'm going to go. And I took off and I'm going. And I got through and I'm trying to skate out, and Punk comes up and she hits me. Now, the time before when I was jamming, Punk hit me out. And she went into me with a hit that was probably, I want to say it is right up there with one of the hardest hits I've ever taken. The hardest hit I ever took was that was when I broke two of my ribs. Yeah, because they went into my torso as hard as they could, and they broke two of my ribs. But this was hard too. It might have even been harder. It jarred me. It really did. I felt it felt almost like my brain was sloshing around in my head when she hit me. And I went down and went out of bounds and then skated back. And afterwards, when I sat down, I was like, okay, the training wheels are completely off now. There's no more screwing around. The training wheels are off. No one is going to cut you any slack. And she did. She hit me again. And just a reference back to that, I went up and told her after the scrimmage, I said, man, you really jarred me when you hit me. And she said the first thought that entered her head when she hit me was, oh, good, she can take a hit. And the second thought was, I hope she's okay. I hope she's okay. I said, I'm fine. But it did jar me. I said, it was a jarring impact. It was a hard hit. So anyway, I ended up fighting with her a lot to finally get out of the pack. And I did. I made my initial pass. And then they whistled me as lead jammer, because what I didn't know was Pixel had committed a penalty. I guess she got a back block or something, and she was in the penalty box. Which means it took me about 20 seconds or so to get through the pack, because she was standing as I came around turns 3 and 4. So she had just stood up and was getting ready to come back in. Now here's where it got real confusing. And I was listening, fortunately. I heard someone say, call it. And that's a good strategy, because I'm a weak jammer. And when you have a stronger jammer in the penalty box who's getting ready to come back in, it's not a bad idea to call the jam so that they're trapped in the penalty box for the next jam. And you can have a stronger jammer come in, get through the initial pass real quick because you're on a power jam, and then score points before the other jammer has an opportunity to get through the pack, do her initial pass, and come around for points. And then you do what they call a hit and quit, which is basically you come around real quick, you collect your 4 points, and you call off the jam. So, there's nothing happening. So I heard call it, and I managed to touch my hips once. In order to call off a jam, you have to touch them at least 2 times in a row. And I touched my hips once, and I was bringing my hands up. I heard, "Don't call it." And I looked, and I said, "Don't call it?" And they said, "Yeah, don't call it." So I didn't bring my hands down again, or didn't call the jam, which meant I had to go through again. And it later hit me that probably the reason they did that was it wasn't so much they were working on strategy. They were working on, we want to see what Nomi's going to do, if she's going to score any points. We want to see how she's going to handle getting through the pack again, which I did my best. And I got knocked out again by Punk. But I came back in. When I came back in, I came in kind of quick, and I saw an opening on lane 1, and I went for it, and I got through. And again, her and I were fighting as we were getting out of the pack. And she was trying to push me out real hard. And I'm doing my best to stay in. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, lanes 1 and 2 are wide open. And I don't remember if I juked or rolled off of her or what. But I got around her and took off. And I actually scored points on the All-Stars. Yeah, and as I come out, that's when I hear now, call it. And I was like, it's done. I scored points on the All-Stars. Yeah. When I came back to the bench, Dash was like, good job listening. And I was like, thanks. Yeah. So I did my team assessment. We did not have practice Wednesday night because everything was shit. They canceled practice. I had to redo some stuff on Thursday. So I don't really know if I've made the blitz or not. No one has talked to me about it. I would imagine they're going to talk to me soon about it. I did well. But part of me keeps thinking that they're going to say you need a little more seasoning before you can be on a travel team. And that's fine. I really would like to make the travel team. I would. If I don't, okay, it's cool. I would be really lucky if I make the travel team. Maybe I'll make the travel team as an alternate, which is cool because I'll be on the roster. Maybe I won't. There'll be some discussion. As they said, everyone who is involved is going to talk about it, just like it was when I did my scrimmage assessment. And that's the way we do things. It's not one person making a judgment of yes or no. There's a whole lot of discussion going on in the background. They didn't talk to me about it Thursday night. And even though I was with my coach last night, it would have been a faux pas to press her on whether or not I made the travel team. So I didn't even bring it up. Last night was not the place to start going, hey, did I make the travel team? Hey, did I make the travel team? No, that's not the place to do it. So I didn't even bring it up. It was not a discussion. When they're ready to talk to me about it, they will talk to me about it. That's just the way it goes. And their decision will be final. It will be binding. And if I don't make the team, I'll be upset, But I'll know where I'm at in terms of being able to get on the travel team. And of course, if I don't make the team, the next question out of my mouth is going to be, when can I try out again? I still am allowed. I'm allowed to come to scrimmages. In fact, We have a scrimmage tomorrow. We're actually scrimmaging with another team coming in from New Jersey, which is, yeah, this is it. It's sort of like it's a scrimmage with another team, so it's almost like another bout. And I even asked, I says, do you want me there? And I said, because I know this is mostly going to be for the travel team. And I was told, yeah, this is for everyone. Now, they did say the travel team will get preference skating. So I may not be in every other jam. I may not be in every third or fourth or fifth jam. That's just the way it's going to go. And that's cool. But the thing is, I will be allowed to scrimmage. I'll be allowed to scrimmage with the team as much as I want. I may even be invited back to like a Monday night scrimmage or something like that. I've already been invited to a scrimmage by another team at the end of March. Keystone's having an open scrimmage, and I got an invite. So I'll have to check with coaching. I'll have to check with my finances too. But I'll check with coaching and say, can I go play with them? And, that's part of the deal was they said, can let you go to other scrimmages. So I'm still waiting to hear how I did with the travel team, whether I made the Blitz or not. And I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to pressure anyone. If I don't make it, I will be kind of upset. But I'm not going to melt down. I'll take it. The criticism that we get in our team is all creative. And no one is trying to hold you back. No one. If they don't feel that you're at the level of play that you need to be at in order to compete with one of their travel teams, they will be honest about it. And you have to accept that. And I do. If they feel I'm not ready to go out there and play with the Blitz, then it's like, okay, cool. What do I have to do to be able to get to that point? And will I be able to try out again, soon? To me, that's what's important, is to keep pushing to be able to do this, because it is important to me. It is something I want to do. I said these were my goals. I want to certify as a player. I want to clear scrimmage assessment. I want to be in the scrimmage. I want to get on a team. So one way or the other, I will be on a team this year, because if nothing else happens, I get on the home team later in like August, then September, October, and November. I'll get on the home team. But I really would like to get on a travel team. And the travel team does have a pretty audacious schedule. I've seen it. And it's hell. It's pretty audacious. So that could also be another part, is like, can you keep up with what everyone else is doing? And if they don't feel I can keep up with what everyone else is doing, they'll tell me. And I'll take all this into consideration. It kind of goes back to something I wrote about in my very first Foundation novel, where Carrie is meeting Professor Matthias Ellison, who's the art and music instructor, for the first time. And he's showing him, Professor Ellison is showing Carrie all these different keyboards up in what they call the keyboard room, stuff that they've collected. Some of the stuff is actually rather famous. Like, one of the things they have is the actual ARP 2500 that was used in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. They have the infamous Black Bitch Mellotron. Tony Banks's Mellotron, when he was with Genesis, that was used for the opening of Watchers of the Sky. Stuff like that. The first Obertron OX1 that was used on the game, which was the first album Queen played synthesizers on. And he's trying to talk Carrie, who is like really kind of introverted at that point, into coming out and playing in what they call their Ostara spring festival, which is like a talent show for any of the students who want to come out and do stuff, poetry readings, dancing, performing. And he recognizes that Carrie has some talent for playing keyboards. And he's saying, I can get you a tutor. You can come out and do a song. And Carrie's like, I don't know. What if I get out there and I suck? And Professor Ellison says, do you want to know who never sucks? And Carrie he had one sort of retort that he was going to come back with, but he finally came back and he says, no, I don't. And Professor Ellison said, the people who never suck are the people who never take their shot. They're the people who never try. They're the people who are content to sit out in the audience and yell at you and tell you how you suck, while at the same time, they themselves won't take the same risk that you're taking. He said, yeah, you take your shot, you may suck. But you're never going to suck if you never take your shot. So, on last Sunday and Monday, did I suck? Yeah, a couple of times. I sucked really hard. But I took my shot. And that's what's important. I took my shot. I didn't have to try out for the travel team. I could have said, nah, I'm not ready. But I took my shot. If I make the team, great. If I don't make the team, it's not so great, but I took my shot. Hamilton said that. I am going to take my shot, and you have to do that. That's the only way you're going to find out if you suck or you don't suck. Because if you never take your shot, you're never going to find out. And it's easy to stand off to the side and go, wow, that guy sucks. Yeah, but they're taking their shot. They're trying. And if you don't take yours, you're in no position to tell somebody else they suck. So it's all about taking your shot. And a lot of us took our shot on Sunday night. And even if we didn't win, we still won. And I took my shot on Monday night. If I didn't win, I still won because I scored points on the All-Stars. If nothing else comes out of Monday night, I scored points on the All-Stars. Yeah. Somebody who in the last 4 weeks has done more work as a jammer than I did with my other league in like a year. And I am not a jammer. In fact, I had to go up against Thursday night. I was jamming, and towards the end, I had to push Dash and Schmid, who are no pushovers. And I was doing my best to get around them, and I ended up pushing them about 15 feet or so to the pivot line. And after it was over, Schmid come by, and she goes, good job. I'm learning. That's how you take your shot. You learn. And you do. You take your shot. And eventually you won't suck. You hope. Hey, there's even some of the pro players I've seen. I'm sure they come off the track and they go, boy, did I suck. And they're pretty much pros. So that's just how it goes. All right. Well, this is the longest video I've done in a long time. So, hey, have a good weekend. Hope to see you next week. Let's see. I'll probably be here. Be March. It's the last of February. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.